Your refrigerator is set to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what the manual said. That's what the food safety guidelines recommend. That's what you've been told keeps food fresh and safe. And it's destroying your food. Your lettuce is freezing solid in the back. Your tomatoes are turning mealy and flavorless. Your bread is going stale faster than it would on the counter. Your cheese is drying out and cracking. Your butter is so hard you can't spread it. Meanwhile, in 1890, households kept food fresh in spring houses and root cellars. No refrigeration, no temperature control, just different zones for different foods. Temperatures ranging from 32 degrees Fahrenheit to 65 degrees Fahrenheit depending on what was being stored. And their food lasted longer than yours does. Because they understood something modern food storage forgot. Different foods need different conditions. Forcing everything into one temperature zone doesn't preserve food. It kills it. Your refrigerator isn't set wrong by accident. It's set wrong by design. Drop a comment right now. What temperature is your fridge set to? Have you ever checked? Let us know, because what you're about to discover will change how you store everything. 1938. The first widely available electric refrigerator comes with a recommendation. Set it to 38 degrees Fahrenheit to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature, manufacturers claimed, would keep food fresh and safe. That recommendation became gospel. The USDA adopted it. Food safety courses taught it. Modern refrigerators default to it. Everyone believes it. But here's what they didn't tell you. That temperature wasn't chosen to optimize food preservation. It was chosen to prevent bacterial growth in the most dangerous foods. Specifically, meat and dairy that had already been compromised by industrial processing. At 38 degrees Fahrenheit, most harmful bacteria grow very slowly. Slowly enough that processed meat and pasteurized milk can sit for days or weeks without becoming immediately dangerous. But 38 degrees Fahrenheit is not the optimal storage temperature for most foods. It's far from it. Tomatoes stored below 50 degrees Fahrenheit suffer chilling injury. The cell membranes break down. The texture becomes mealy. The flavor compounds degrade. The tomato loses the characteristics that made it taste like a tomato. This isn't opinion. This is documented cellular damage from cold stress. Potatoes stored below 45 degrees Fahrenheit convert their starches to sugars. The texture changes. The taste becomes sweet and off. If you fry a cold stored potato, it turns dark brown because of the excess sugars. The potato is damaged. Onions and garlic stored in refrigerator humidity levels begin to sprout or rot. They need dry, cool conditions, not wet, cold ones. Bread stored at 38 degrees Fahrenheit goes stale 6 times faster than bread stored at room temperature. This is called retrogradation. The starch molecules recrystallize in cold temperatures. The bread becomes hard, dry, and unpalatable. Yet all of these foods are in your refrigerator right now. All of them are being damaged. All because you followed the 38 degrees Fahrenheit recommendation designed for processed meat, not for vegetables, fruits, or bread. But wait, it gets worse. Your refrigerator doesn't maintain 38 degrees Fahrenheit everywhere. The temperature varies by location. The back is coldest, sometimes dropping to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. The door is warmest, reaching 45 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. The crisper drawers have different humidity and different temperatures than the main compartment. You're storing food in a box with half a dozen different microclimates, and you're treating it like a uniform environment. Food in the back freezes. Food in the door spoils. Food in the middle exists somewhere between the two extremes. None of this is optimization. It's chaos. Temperature is only half the problem. The other half is humidity. Modern refrigerators maintain relative humidity around 30 to 40%. This is dry. Very dry. Drier than most deserts. Why? Because low humidity prevents condensation on the cooling coils. Condensation causes frost buildup. Frost buildup reduces efficiency, so refrigerators are designed to run dry. But most fresh foods need high humidity to stay fresh. Leafy greens are 90% water. If you store them in 30% humidity, that water evaporates. The leaves wilt. They dry out. They become limp and unusable within days. The same applies to carrots, celery, cucumbers, peppers, and most vegetables. They need humidity above 80% to maintain their structure and freshness. This is why your crisper drawers exist. They're supposed to maintain higher humidity by restricting airflow, but most people use them incorrectly or don't use them at all. Here's how it actually worked before refrigeration. Root cellars maintained 85 to 95% humidity. Vegetables stored in damp sand or sawdust stayed crisp for months. The high humidity prevented water loss. The cool temperature slowed metabolic processes. The vegetables stayed alive, just dormant. Your refrigerator creates the opposite environment. Low humidity, forced air circulation, constant temperature swings every time the compressor cycles. The vegetables aren't preserved, they're desiccated, dried out slowly over days until they're unusable. And the crisper drawers don't fix this, they just slow it. Because they're still connected to the main refrigerator compartment, they still experience the same dry air, just with slightly restricted flow. Modern refrigerators were designed to be efficient, to be cheap to manufacture, to be easy to clean. They were not designed to preserve fresh food optimally. And the 30% humidity proves it. Let's talk about what happens at the back of your refrigerator, the coldest zone, the place where air comes directly from the cooling system. You've seen it. Lettuce frozen solid, berries turned to ice, milk partially frozen at the top. This happens because the back of the refrigerator drops below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's where most people put their vegetables, because the crisper drawers are usually at the bottom rear of the unit. Freezing destroys cellular structure. When water inside plant cells freezes, it forms ice crystals. Those crystals puncture cell walls. When the food thaws, the cells leak. The structure collapses. The texture becomes mushy. This is why frozen and thawed lettuce is slimy. Why frozen and thawed tomatoes turn to liquid. Why frozen cucumbers become soggy mush. The freezing destroyed them at the cellular level. Your refrigerator is doing this to your food, not because you said it wrong, because it's designed with a cold zone that's too cold for fresh produce. Here's the contrast. A traditional root cellar had temperature stratification. The coldest area, near the floor or against stone walls, stayed around 32 degrees Fahrenheit to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. This is where apples and cabbage were stored, foods that tolerate near freezing. The middle zone stayed 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. This is where potatoes, carrots, and beets went. Cool enough to slow spoilage, warm enough to prevent damage. The upper zones or areas near the entrance stayed 50 degrees Fahrenheit to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. This is where squash, onions, and garlic were kept. Foods that need cool but not cold. Different foods in different zones. Each zone optimized for specific crops. Nothing frozen, nothing dried out. Everything stored at its ideal temperature and humidity. Your refrigerator forces everything into one box with chaotic temperature zones you can't control. The cold zone freezes, the warm zone spoils. Nothing is optimized. The refrigerator door is the warmest part of your fridge. It experiences the biggest temperature swings. Every time you open the door, warm air rushes in. The temperature spikes to 50 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, then it slowly drops back down. This cycling is terrible for food preservation, but it's especially terrible for the food most people store there. Eggs, milk, condiments, butter, all in the door, all experiencing constant temperature fluctuations. Eggs stored in the door go through thermal stress. The temperature rises and falls. This causes condensation on the shell. That condensation can draw bacteria through the pores if the egg has been washed and the cuticle removed. Milk in the door experiences temperature abuse. It warms up, bacteria multiply faster. It cools down, bacterial growth slows. But the bacteria that multiplied during the warm period don't die. The milk spoils faster than it would in a stable cold zone. Butter in the door becomes too soft when warm, too hard when cold. The constant cycling damages the fat structure. The butter becomes grainy or separates. Yet refrigerator manufacturers put dedicated egg holders and milk shelves in the door. They designed the warmest, most unstable zone to hold the most temperature-sensitive foods. Why? Convenience. It's easier to grab milk from the door than reach into the back. It's easier to access eggs from a door tray than from the main compartment. Convenience over preservation. Again, traditional cold storage didn't have this problem. Spring houses, where milk and butter were kept, maintained constant temperatures. The flowing water or thick stone walls buffered against temperature swings. The milk sat in the same 45 degrees Fahrenheit to 50 degrees Fahrenheit environment continuously. Your refrigerator door puts temperature-sensitive food through a thermal roller coaster, and then you wonder why the milk goes bad a week before the expiration date. Modern refrigerators use automatic defrost cycles, Every 6 to 12 hours, the refrigerator briefly heats the cooling coils to melt any frost buildup. This is convenient. You never have to manually defrost, but it's destroying your food. During the defrost cycle, the temperature inside the refrigerator rises, sometimes significantly. The air near the coils can reach 50 degrees Fahrenheit or higher for 15 to 20 minutes. Then the cooling kicks back in and the temperature drops. This happens multiple times per day. Your food experiences temperature cycling constantly. Warming and cooling. Warming and cooling. Fresh produce suffers. The warming accelerates metabolic processes. The food ages faster, enzymes activate. Cellular breakdown accelerates, then the cooling slows it again. But the damage from the warm period accumulates. Frozen food suffers even more. If you use the freezer compartment, the defrost cycle partially thaws the outer layer of frozen food. Ice crystals melt slightly, then refreeze. This creates larger ice crystals. Those larger crystals cause more cellular damage. The food quality degrades with every cycle. This is why food from a frost-free freezer often has freezer burn. The defrost cycles sublime water from the food surface. The food dries out. The surface becomes desiccated and damaged. Manual defrost refrigerators and freezers don't have this problem. The temperature stays constant until you manually defrost. The food doesn't experience cycling. It stays at one temperature continuously. But manual defrost is inconvenient, so the industry eliminated it, and your food suffers the consequences. Modern refrigerators use forced air circulation. A fan blows cold air through the compartment. This creates even cooling. It prevents hot spots. It's efficient. It's also drying out your food. Moving air accelerates evaporation. The more air movement, the faster water leaves the food surface. This is basic physics. Humid, still air allows food to maintain moisture. Dry, moving air pulls moisture away. Your refrigerator is constantly circulating dry air across your food. The vegetables dry out. The cheese dries out and cracks. The meat develops a dry surface layer. Everything loses moisture steadily. This is why food from commercial refrigerated display cases, which use heavy air circulation, dries out so quickly. The forced air is optimized for temperature control, not moisture preservation. Traditional cold storage didn't use air circulation. Root cellars were still. Spring houses had gentle water flow but no air movement. Ice houses had still air between ice blocks. The food sat in humid, still environments. Moisture stayed in the food. Your refrigerator's fan runs almost continuously, pulling moisture from everything inside, creating the dry environment that makes vegetables wilt and cheese crack. You can see this effect clearly with fresh herbs. Put fresh parsley in your refrigerator. Within 2 days, it's wilted and dry. The forced air circulation pulled the moisture out. Put the same parsley in a glass of water in a cool room with still air. It stays fresh for a week. The still air doesn't strip moisture. The water at the base replenishes what's lost. The forced air in your refrigerator is killing your food faster than room temperature would. You can't redesign your refrigerator. But you can use it differently. First, measure your actual temperatures. Buy a refrigerator thermometer. Put it in different locations. Find out where the cold zones and warm zones actually are. Map your refrigerator's temperature zones. Second, adjust your thermostat. Most refrigerators are set too cold. Try 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 42 degrees Fahrenheit instead of 38 degrees Fahrenheit. This prevents freezing in the back while still keeping the main compartment cold enough for safety. Third, use your crisper drawers correctly. Most have humidity controls. Use the high humidity setting for leafy greens, herbs, and vegetables that wilt. Use the low humidity setting for fruits that produce ethylene gas. Keep them separate. Fourth, never store temperature-sensitive items in the door. Move eggs to the main compartment. Move milk to a middle shelf where temperature is stable. Use the door only for condiments that tolerate temperature swings. Fifth, store foods according to temperature needs, not convenience. Top shelf, warmest zone, 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 45 degrees Fahrenheit, leftovers, drinks. Foods you'll consume quickly. Middle shelves, moderate zone, 38 degrees Fahrenheit to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Dairy products, eggs, deli meats. Bottom shelf, coldest zone but above freezing, 35 degrees Fahrenheit to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Raw meat, fish, poultry. These need the coldest safe temperatures. Crisper drawers, high humidity, leafy greens. Herbs, vegetables prone to wilting. Crisper drawers, low humidity. Apples, pears, fruits that produce ethylene. Door, condiments only, nothing temperature sensitive. Sixth, stop refrigerating foods that don't need it. Tomatoes, potatoes, onions, garlic, winter squash, bread, honey, coffee, hot sauce. All of these last longer at room temperature than in the refrigerator. Tomatoes at room temperature maintain flavor and texture. In the refrigerator, they become mealy. Potatoes at room temperature in a dark place last for weeks. In the refrigerator, they turn sweet and develop off flavors. Onions and garlic in a cool, dry pantry last for months. In the refrigerator, they sprout or rot. Bread at room temperature stays soft for 3 to 5 days. In the refrigerator, it goes stale in 1 day. You've been refrigerating these foods because you thought cold preservation was always better. It's not. Different foods need different conditions. Seventh, consider alternative storage methods. A basement corner with a bucket of damp sand can store root vegetables for months. A cool pantry can store whole grains, nuts and shells, winter squash. A covered container on the counter can store tomatoes, bananas, avocados. Not everything needs refrigeration. Not everything benefits from it, and forcing everything into one cold box because it's convenient is destroying food quality. In 2007, researchers at the University of Florida studied tomato storage. They found that tomatoes stored below 55 degrees Fahrenheit lost volatile flavor compounds and developed mealy texture. The damage was permanent. Even returning the tomatoes to room temperature didn't restore the flavor. The recommended storage? 65 degrees Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit until ripe, then consume immediately. A 2011 study on bread staling found that bread stored at refrigerator temperatures underwent rapid starch retrogradation. The bread became stale 6 times faster at 38 degrees Fahrenheit than at room temperature. The optimal storage for bread was room temperature for short term or frozen for long term. Refrigeration was the worst option. A 2015 analysis of fresh produce storage found that most vegetables lose nutritional value faster under forced air circulation than in still air. The constant air movement accelerated oxidation and moisture loss. Both factors degraded vitamins and minerals. A 2018 study on refrigerator temperature zones found that 76% of home refrigerators had at least one zone that fell below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, freezing food unintentionally. And 43% had door temperatures that exceeded 45 degrees Fahrenheit, creating food safety risks. Modern refrigerators are not optimized for food quality. They're optimized for convenience and energy efficiency. And your food suffers as a result. The household in 1890 storing vegetables in a root cellar, butter in a spring house, and bread in a wooden box wasn't primitive. They understood that different foods need different conditions. They created multiple storage environments tailored to specific needs. We traded that knowledge for a single appliance set to one temperature. We forced tomatoes, milk, bread, cheese, vegetables, and meat into the same environment and expected optimal results. We didn't get them. Your refrigerator is set wrong. Not because you made a mistake, because the entire system is designed wrong. One temperature zone, low humidity, forced air circulation, temperature cycling. None of this is optimized for fresh food. The solution isn't buying a better refrigerator. It's understanding that refrigeration is one tool, not the only tool. And using it correctly means knowing what to refrigerate, where to put it, and what to keep out entirely. Your food is being damaged in your refrigerator right now. The lettuce freezing, the tomatoes turning mealy, the bread going stale, the cheese drying out. Not because these foods are fragile, because they're being stored in conditions that destroy them. The choice is yours. The knowledge was never lost. It was just replaced with a one-size-fits-all solution that doesn't actually fit. And every time you store tomatoes on the counter, or keep bread in a box, or put vegetables in damp sand, you reclaim the storage wisdom that kept food fresh without forcing everything into one cold box. If this changed how you see your refrigerator, hit that like button. Subscribe because we're exposing the systems that create waste while claiming to preserve. Share this with someone who's tired of frozen lettuce and mealy tomatoes. Send it to anyone who thinks colder is always better. Subscribe. Let's keep digging up what they buried.